welcome back to Real English, and today we're having a look at the ECPE Speaking again, and this time it's the tricky little part 2. Alright, so in part 2, this is the part where the examiner will give you a scenario. He'll say you either both work for a company and you have to choose a new employee, perhaps you've got your teachers and you've got to choose a place to go on a school trip. Okay, so he's going to give you a scenario or something similar to a role play. Alright, I prefer to call it a scenario. So each candidate, alright, will be given a sheet with 2 options, and we'll have a look at a sheet like this in a minute, and they have to summarize their options to their partner. Alright, so your partner's not allowed to look at your sheet and you're not allowed to look at your partner's sheet, and you've just got to summarize your information to each other. Yeah? So while listening to your partner, you must take notes. Alright? And it's also interesting to note this is a good interesting tip here, that each option you're going to get is going to have 7 points, 6 positive ones and 1 disadvantage. Alright? So let's have a look, for example, at the turn structure here, so you can kind of get it straight in your heads. So if you have a look at the green part of the diagram up here, let's pretend we've got 2 students, a boy called David and a girl called Susan. Alright, so David volunteers to go first. So first of all, David is going to summarize his 2 options, and Susan is going to be taking notes on what he says. Then, after David has finished summarizing his option, he'll turn to Susan and say, "So Susan, which of my options do you prefer?" Okay? And she'll give him a very quick response. "I prefer this one because of this." Very quickly. 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Okay? Then it's Susan's turn to summarize her 2 options to David. Alright? And David's taking notes while she's doing this. After which case, Susan will turn to David and say, "So, which of my options do you prefer?" And David will give her an answer and tiny description of why. Very tiny. And this pretty much finishes part 2. Okay, and then we get to the red box here, and then the examiner will turn to both Susan and David and say, "I want you to pick one of your own options." Okay, not one of your partners, your own. Okay, and all you've got to do is say, "I think this one," and you don't have to justify it. You don't have to say why. You're just giving the name. "I think this is best," or "I think he is the best candidate." Alright, so let's have a look at the type of question, for example, we're dealing with. Alright, so the scenario for this one would be, you are high school teachers. You need to choose a destination for a school trip. Alright, so these are David's options. So he's going to have a piece of paper with local museum and aquarium. Alright, so I'm not going to read through these. You can press pause now and have a little look. Okay, but you'll see there are 7 points, 6 positive ones and 1 disadvantage. Meanwhile, Susan will get her options, 2 different ones, obviously. Forest park and a beach day. 6 positive points, 1 negative one. Yeah, so these are the things that they've got to summarize to each other. Alright, and I am going to do a worked example using this in another video. There'll be a link for which somewhere around here. Alright, so you can click on that if you want to actually watch Susan and David doing this. So, do's and don'ts for this part of the test. Alright, so first of all, paraphrase whenever possible. That means the words that they give you on your options, you have to change them. You can't use the same words. And sometimes they will say it the best way and you can't change the word. If you can't change the word, change the grammar at least. Alright? Relate your points to the topic. So the topic or the scenario we were talking about is we were high school students, we were high school teachers picking a trip for our students. So you've got to relate your points to the fact that, oh, I think students will really enjoy this aspect of the trip. Okay, relate it to the topic. This is why it's kind of a little bit like a role play almost. Alright? And sometimes if you want, you can change the order of the points and group similar things together. Alright, which is always nice. So, the don'ts, okay? First thing, don't just read out your points, and this is the most common mistake in this exam. People just go la 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 and just read them out as they see them. They don't change anything, and that's a disaster because you're going to score very low marks. Yeah. Don't make up your own information. You've been given the 7 points, and these are the 7 points you have to stick to. If you make up your own information, you're going to destroy the whole exam because your partner, who's making notes, is going to be writing the wrong thing down. Disaster. Alright? And don't overcomplicate your points, because if you do this, it means your partner is going to have a lot of difficulty hearing what the actual 7 points are. Okay? So there are some hints and tips for this part. So I hope this has clarified something for you guys and made this part a little bit clearer. And as I said, don't worry, I'm going to be doing a worked example, and literally from the very start pretending I'm a candidate, so it's going to show you how you guys can tackle it. Alright? Thanks for watching. Bye for now.